Hello and welcome to BJA Today, and I'm BJ Arnett. You know, sometimes you meet people that you've never met before, and there's just something that clicks. Well, this one really clicked. Ms. Hernandez is with me today, and the reason it clicked is because you are a journalist.
Yes,
you are a woman who has seen all of the things that I've seen,
Yes,
and we
ma'am.
get to talk back and forth about, man, this industry is interesting.
Yes.
But Fior, I really want people to get an understanding of the fact that there really isn't a glass ceiling.
Right.
And today,
Dare we say that?
dare
we say
that.
Right, right.
And today we are in such a platform
Mhm.
that allows us as women,
Yes.
as women of color,
Yes.
to be able to do really anything that we want. But let's roll back to your beginning in that field called journalism.
Yes, yes. So I started my career, as we talked briefly off camera, and my internship when I got out of college was at Fox News, the network in the #1 market, right? And so here I am, this young girl still trying to work through this accent that I have because I'm Puerto Riqueña, right?
Yes,
Just
yes,
struggling
yes.
through this accent, right? And trying to perfect it. And so I was a production assistant there. And just at that time, I felt like, okay, this is my way in. This is how I start. And of course, that's what you would think in the
Yeah.
business. I'm sure you remember.
Mhm.
But I remember reading a book. It was an e-book. It wasn't even a famous book or bestseller. And it said, if you want to be on camera, you better be on camera, right? Right, and I'm sure you've heard that term as
Yes.
well. And I said, okay, you know what? How long is it going to take me to work my way up in this particular market? New York.
Yeah.
You know what? I have to fight to be on camera, and so I did. And long story short, I started at a small station in Trenton, New Jersey. They had an English newscast. They wanted a Spanish version. In comes Fior, and then the rest is history. I mean, I've worked for the affiliates, and some of my stories have made network, as you know.
And you've won an Emmy.
Yes, breaking news, breaking news.
It's even that
Mhm.
says even that historical data that you just gave,
Yes.
The never stop attitude,
No, that's
the
right.
read what you can and get what you can out of
That's
it.
right.
Use what
right.
what is best for you.
Yes, yes.
Throw out the rest.
Yes.
And then there's that sheer tenacity to not stop.
Yes.
At the point where you realize that the industry is constantly changing,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're asking, and I remember this myself, asking for more punchy kind of
Right.
news.
Oh, yes.
And you begin to see that it is not the journalistic
Mm-mm.
classic style
So,
that you're trained in. How did you navigate all of the shifts and changes that you were beginning to see in an industry that didn't necessarily have the widest door open for you?
Right. The way I tried to navigate it was just I always tried to look at, I'm sure you've heard this also, so there are 3 sides to the story. You have his side, her side, and then there's the truth, right? And so at that time in my life, I was, again, younger. And so for me, still searching for the truth, even in my own personal life, right? So when you're in a newsroom, you have breaking news, you have politicians saying this, you have the community saying that, you have the mother saying this, and you have the son saying that. You're trying to look at everything, and you're trying to say, what is the truth here? But see, the dominant voice at times, I'm sure you remember as well, is that editorial process, that team inside the
Yes.
newsrooms. And as much as people maybe don't want to believe that this is the truth, they do have a set tone at times as it relates to certain stories.
Yes,
and
they do.
People can argue till the cows come home. I mean,
but you can see it
Yes.
in every network.
Yes, yes, you
There
can.
is a
Yes,
bent,
yes.
if you will.
And before, I don't know if when you were there, it was the same thing, but before, when I started, they couldn't share information the same
No,
way.
they
They would
didn't.
compete so hard for the exclusive. Now, once the narrative is set,
Everybody's got
everybody's got
It's
the same
like,
story.
hey girl, I got this story. Let's share.
Yes.
It's insane.
Oh, yes. It's insane.
So where is
Yes.
the journalism in that? Where is the get to the meat of the story? Where is the investigation? We were both trained to investigate, to ask the question, to search it out, to find it out.
Yes.
There is no glass ceiling. I remember
But I agree with
thinking,
you. So
there isn't.
it's okay.
No, there isn't. I remember somebody saying to me, you know, you're going to have to break the glass ceiling. And I was very young in the industry. And I'm like,
Right.
what glass
You're like,
ceiling?
what are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Yes.
I think the blessing that we have
and it is a blessing.
It is a blessing. It's that we didn't recognize there was a grass ceiling. So we continue to move.
Focused.
And focus.
Focused. I think that makes people distracted. See, my navigation, as you asked earlier, to be more exact in my response, is that I stayed fixed, focused. The chatter is always going to be around us, and people are going to keep saying, you have to break through this, and they're not gonna like that. I don't care about any of that. That's all noise. I'm focused on the one voice I'm supposed to be listening to.
And see, and that one voice, and I think that brings what brings it to the final point, or that platform atmosphere, that this is where we stand.
Yes.
Where we stand is that we're listening for that one voice, and every other voice doesn't even matter.
Doesn't matter. We don't recognize
We
those
don't
voices.
recognize it. So as your career has shifted and morphed and moved and changed, you've been able to navigate through this whole system. And now, and I love the concept, and it always stays in my head, that as I have gone, there's someone who's now standing on my shoulders. There's someone who's now standing on your shoulders. And we can't stop for those who come after us.
No.
What do you see as the best way, if you will, for men and women of any hue to be able to navigate in a new system as we see now? Because it is very different from 20, 30, and certainly 50 years ago.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
You know, I think of Walter Cronkite, and I was like,
no, who's that?
Oh,
Really?
who? What
kind of
Yeah, most people don't
What are
even
you talking
know
about? Exactly.
who that is.
Right.
And what that generation of newscasters did in order for us to be able to do what we did, and then so forth and so on. Well, what do you see?
Well, I think it takes for women like yourself and myself and others, right, that are out there for sure, to continue to mentor others. We have to do that. And I think we have to, in our mentoring, be real and let them know that, okay, this is what happened with us, but our story is not your story, okay? And so we're here to help you walk through the today. The Walter Cronkite is no more, okay?
That's right.
Okay, so we have to see what's happening now and then say, regardless of that, because I speak from obviously being a believer's perspective.
Yes,
See,
exactly.
because my foundation is in Christ, I will help others understand that as long as that is the priority, you can
everything
be anywhere
else
and
everything
just
else
navigate.
moves around it.
That's right.
You know, the focus has to be the understanding of who you are in Christ, so that everything else moves around it. And when I look at the news, I don't want the anchor's opinion. I want the real story.
Yeah, remember it used to be called op-eds in the right?
Yes.
So op-ed, do an op-ed piece.
Yes.
Now.
What?
Oh, did you just say that? Because I thought my family cannot watch the news with me. I'm sure it's the same with you.
Because you have an opinion. Like the news comes on, and I'm like,
don't let it be Spanish news for me, because I told my family, if you do not shut that thing off, I know what happens behind closed doors there.
Exactly. Yeah. It's different. It is very, very different.
Yes.
If you had 5 things that you wanted a person who comes after you in this field to understand, to hold on to, what would those 5 things be?
The first one would have to be focused on my brothers and sisters. They're Christian, right? I would have to say keep it Christ-centered, right? The second one would be to navigate the extremes. For example, identify them and then navigate, as you asked me earlier. How did I navigate? There are extremes on both sides of the aisle. You asked me for 5 things. Could you have just said 3?
Okay, 3.
But
I think one of the things that you said yesterday or the day before really spoke to me about being authentic.
Yes.
And that's like a key word right now.
Yes.
Is that if we are saying that we are Christians in this field, then we should be the ones that are leading the march of truth.
For truth. But the thing is, here's the thing. They
Without
will
our
argue,
opinion.
right, but they will argue with us still, because one thing I say, and I was teaching in the master class, is that I can say that I'm going to be, that I'm not going to be biased, right? But the thing is, that's not truthful. I am biased for Christ. I am biased for the word of God. It's going to come through. Right. So people are going to be feeling a certain kind of way about it. But I would say that we just have to say, look, this is our truth. And the other stories, we look at them through the word. What does the word say about it?
About that.
That's right.
I remember in my journey, and this is really stands out to me now because she just passed, Cicely Tyson. And I did an interview with her at NBC. NBC, I don't even know what year it was, but it was on a noon show. And she was one of the people who were leading the charge for the CARE organization. And you know, the footage runs, and you see these little children who are in pain and in agony, and they're starving. And I remember, and this is shortly after I got saved, weeping up with tears. It happened to me twice. And my IFB is in my ear, and my director is saying, suck it up.
Oh, yeah.
Suck it up.
Suck it up.
And you know that. Now, you know that.
Yeah. Is she about to cry?
Cry. But now they celebrate crying.
Oh my God! Excuse us. Oh, because wait, that wins an Emmy. No, that wins an Emmy.
She cried on the air. And I remember Cicely Tyson seeing my tears, and she, which made it worse.
Yeah. Oh,
okay. Because first of all, Cicely Tyson touched me. Okay, I'm done. It's over. But then she touched me and she said, "That affected you," and I said, "Yes." And I realized that was one of those moments that I can say life will never be the same in terms of my journalism understanding.
That's right.
What was that moment for you where you said, wait a minute, with my Christ, life will never be the same. What was that moment?
See, well, that's good, because it's two answers I can give you. So number one, when I knew it was my calling, was the day that I won the Emmy for breaking news. But not because of the Emmy award, but because of the way that I thrived under pressure. See, I got it for breaking news because I was the only reporter, and we had a day of breaking news like you've never seen.
Wow.
And I was the only one on every story, right? So because of that, I said, this is my calling, right? But at the time, I wasn't serving God.
Wow. I love that.
Right. But then when I recommitted, now it's the second answer to your question. When the Supreme Court passed in favor of gay marriage, this is the truth. I just became the reporter that every story regarding that matter would be pitched to. And so when Fior wants to ask the pastor who is okay with this, listen, in a very respectful and professional, because that's another thing. We're going to be excellent, okay?
Yes, because
we
call.
serve excellence,
That's
all right?
it.
So we're not going to like hit somebody with the mic and call the names. So because I asked, okay, sir, you know that there is a church that does not agree with this. A lot of people. Where in the Bible? And that's
the line.
And that was live.
You know, I love talking to you. The thing that we know for sure is that though we might have thought we chose this industry, we were actually chosen for this.
I believe that.
I appreciate you.
Oh, no, I appreciate you.
Thank you
so much. Thank you.
So if you didn't know it before, you know it now. A calling is not necessarily something that you really know what you're going to do. It is, however, what you must do. I'm BJ Arnett. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
My guest today on BJA Today is a friend. Okay, so I'm going to say this real quick, and I'm going to move on. Her name is Carla McDougal. The last time she was on the program, however, she made me cry. I love her anyway. What an introduction, right?
Thank you.
But it's so true. It's so true.
true.
Producer, director, writer, all things film, media, all things great storytelling. Carla, what you're doing right now with Breaking Strongholds, Hope for Tomorrow, is really groundbreaking for this genre, if you will.
Yes.
Talk to us about why in the world would you go to take on such a mammoth project?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on. I'm so excited to be here.
And you're not going to make me cry.
I'm not going to make you cry. You're going to make me cry, probably.
Okay, fine. Here we go.
We just have that connection.
We do. We really do.
I love it. Well, we finished our project, feature film, We Are Stronger. And our team tends to like to really hear from the Lord in the areas of the mental health issues that are taking place. For example, We Are Stronger was about PTSD and really finding the hope and healing through Christ. And so as we started praying about the next project, the Lord put it on our heart to do a series this time. And we came in contact with some organizations. We're from the Montgomery County area outside of Houston.
Okay.
And so we had some organizations that came to us and just shared some of the things they were dealing with when it came to teens, and specifically the teen suicide epidemic. Montgomery County is the highest in the state of Texas, and we just were really dumbfounded by that. Like
I don't
how
think people realize how widespread teen suicide is at this particular time. The numbers are astronomical around the country.
It really is. It's the second leading cause of death of from kids 10 to 24 years old ages.
So you hear this from the community. You hear the groundswell or the ground cry for help in this area. But it's one of those things, or one of those subjects that, if we're honest, people really tend to hide the things that happened before the actual suicide.
Yeah.
And that really is essentially part of the problem.
Absolutely. It's like a silent epidemic in a way, if you want to put it that way. And our cell phones haven't helped with that issue. In fact, it's escalated the numbers because of the isolation. They can just live in non-reality, you know, and not even know what's going on around them. It's a way of escape in some form as well. And
what you recognized as you were putting this piece together, did you not see some of the hiding elements in your own community?
Absolutely. In fact, so much so that God allowed me an experience that couldn't have been orchestrated by myself, but it was totally Him. I had a friend whose daughter ended up in a facility, an adolescent facility, right down the street from me. I didn't even know that place existed.
Wow.
96 beds filled with 96 adolescents, all on suicide watch, with a waiting list.
Oh, my God.
Right down the street from me.
And you had no idea it was there?
I had no idea it was there. Well, I told her, I don't want you to have to go in by yourself. I'll go in with you. I know her daughter as well. So I go in, and I experienced a darkness I've never experienced before. The spiritual warfare was so heavy, and I just cried as I looked around at all these, children that were dealing with this specific issue. Many of them had overdosed, and they ended up in the facility. That, and in fact, the numbers that I'm sharing with you are the actual. That's not the attempts. That's not even the attempts. And so I don't even know if we have those numbers on the attempts.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've recognized nationally is that, oh gosh, we're still in this hiding place. So a lot of it doesn't even get out because we're still afraid to unveil the actual source of the problems.
Right.
So it's extremely difficult to capture those numbers of how many times have they tried it before they were successful. And you're totally right. The cell phone has not helped because instead of, they feel like they're communicating because they're reaching all their friends quickly, but they're not communicating because they don't know how to reach out and touch
That's exactly.
each other. They don't know how to
Yeah.
be present in the moment of being with a person.
Yeah.
So they're always feeling isolated, and the cell phone is only making them more isolated.
And bullying is a
Comes
whole
across the
nother.
cell phone.
It used to be different when
Yeah.
you or I
Yes.
were in school because you
Yes.
could get away from that, go home,
Yes.
and not have to deal with it.
Now you
But
can't
now
run.
you can't run from that because it's right there on their phones.
Mm.
Videos are being captured. It's just, I could go on and on about that. But the bullying has taken a whole different, and it's level.
How have you been able
So-
to address it with this concept of writing, producing, and directing a storyline that is painful, yet the story has to be told?
Yeah. We bring in this program called Safe Talk. And basically, we go in and teach these teens, how to ask the question to their friends. So it's like a peer-to-peer. So we show this on the screen. How to ask the question, are you
okay?
are you okay, but are you thinking about suicide?
Wow.
So
that's
getting
no,
to-
I'm immediately thinking about the scene in the program that addresses that whole way of thinking, and for one team to say to the other team, "Are you okay? What's going on here?"
And let me tell you, that moment I just got godbugs thinking about that scene.
Mm-hmm.
And as we shot that scene and how powerful it is. Because if we can get others in the church, youth groups, not just teens themselves, but us, to just ask, if I notice someone having, isolating and withdrawing, and there's some signs along the way, if we know those signs, which we show those in the film, and then we just ask, hey, are you thinking about suicide? And bring it to the forefront. There's something about when the darkness hits the light.
I remember the years
So-
that, I've given my testimony 100 times about being a teen and being molested and having suicidal tendencies and attempting suicide 2 or 3 times. And I can't even remember how many times it was. At that time, as we said, no cell phones.
Yeah.
No, you could hide it easier.
Yeah.
You could hide pain. But now everything is out there.
Yeah.
But it isn't out there. And that I think is the misnomer. People say, well, if you just track their cell phone, if you take their cell phone from, no, you've got to look into that child's eyes. You got to look into that person's face, and you got to ask that question.
Yeah.
10 years ago, that question wouldn't have been asked. But now it's necessary.
It is.
To ask that question.
Very, very much. Because whether or not they say yes or no, okay, if they say yes, they've got a place, then we teach them to go the
next step.
The next step,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
to go get the help, find, assistance. But if they just say they say no, but they'll remember that you cared enough to ask them that
Yes.
question.
Carla, you just said it.
You
You cared enough to stop and say, are you thinking about? If there were one thing that you would say that could flip the tide, if you will, that would change the direction of this agony, this pain that young people are facing, what would it be?
So there's a youth pastor that's involved with our project, and he's actually going to be in as the youth pastor. And he did a survey and has done it, I think, about every year as with his youth. And he said, with hands down, without a doubt, the two things that come back is identity and purpose.
Mm.
And when these kids don't have an identity in Christ,
Mm-hmm.
they're lost.
Mm-hmm.
And when they don't have a purpose of understanding really who I am in Christ,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then they're lost.
Yeah.
And so that's one of our hope and our prayer through the eight episodes is that they will have a desire to seek the identity in Christ and to find that purpose. And we are developing curriculum
To go along
with
this.
it.
That's awesome.
One of our heart schools is to get it into these facilities like I shared with you,
Mm-hmm.
these adolescent facilities, as well as youth groups, just organizations that they'll have their hands on. And do you mind me asking you a question?
Yes. Go ahead.
You had mentioned that you had suffered with the same
yeah.
situation
Mm-hmm.
and attempts.
Yeah.
How would it have been if somebody had asked you that question? Are you thinking of taking your life?
I think it would have stopped me and especially for thinking back for the period of time that I grew up in, it would have stopped me in my tracks.
Yeah.
Because it would have told me someone can see me. See, it's the nobody sees me. Nobody hears me.
Yeah.
I don't know how to open my mouth and say this. So someone has to hear when their mouth cannot open.
Yeah.
Why did you do? I told you not to do this. Someone has to hear that young person who cannot say, he hurt me.
Yeah.
I'm hurting. Someone has to hear it before it can ever come out of their mouth.
Absolutely.
But in order for you to have to hear it, you have to be willing to be up close with those young people in order to feel what they feel, see what they see, not turn your nose up at it,
Yeah.
but get into the muck and the mire
Yep.
so that a life can be saved. Don't care what people think. Care what God says about you.
That's right.
Do not care what people think.
That's exactly.
Care what God says about you. And just hold on to that.
Absolutely.
I hope you have felt a little twinge of pain that will make you move. This story is not about you feeling good. This is a story that is meant to make you take action. Ask the question. I'm BJ Arnett. This is Carla McDougal. God bless you. Thank you for being here.